Hi everybody. Today is going to be the first segment in a multi-part series on preparation for the Appalachian Trail. I'd like to pass on any information I have for future hikers. And so this series will include all kinds of things: logistics, hostels, food resupply points, everything. But today we're going to focus on one very particular item, and that is permits. You will need permits. Registering with the Conservancy does not guarantee you permits in the individual parks. So let's go through. There's three main sections where you're going to have permits. So let's go through it. Let's go get it. All right, first up is the Smokies, the Great Smoky Mountains, right around Tennessee and North Carolina. So it's a permit to hike their section. It's about 50 miles, and you have exactly 8 days from the beginning of that section to the end of that section. Your permit only allows you 8 days. You'll have to, I think, contact them if it's more. I don't know. Anyways, whatever. While you're in the Smokies, you absolutely have to use their shelters, their designated spots. They won't allow it. Also, it's going to cost you $20. You will be allowed to register either online. I personally did it in the NOC, which was a couple of days beforehand. And what I did was I got online. I got on their site. I paid for it and printed out my permit. And I kept it on me at all times. Then when I went when I came out of Fontana Dam, and I started my ascent of the terrible three, Rocky Mountain, Tray Mountain, and I'll remember the other one. Anyways, that was the day I handed in my permit. There's a little box on trail that you still have to keep a copy of your permit on you, but you are given a sheet of paper to tell them what exact date that you entered their national park. And then you, at the end, have to also put in a sheet of paper saying that you've completed that section. So anyways, it's a fairly easy permit to get. In the Smokies, like they say, camping's only permitted at designated backcountry campsites and shelters. You can stay overnight in the backcountry as long as you have a printed copy of that permit. So what it is, and the other thing too, is shelters first, always. You can reserve the shelter. You can actually book a shelter and say, I'm going there at that particular time. But we all know that's never something that is written in stone, because you never know when you're going to show up, when you're going to be there. So there is that. But yeah, so that's the one section you're definitely going to have to pay money for. And it's the only section you'll have to pay money for. Okay, moving on. Shenandoah National Park in Virginia. There are no charges for permits, but you can go to one of the self-registration stations at various park entrances. They're everywhere. You just have to fill out a form, and that's it, really. It's pretty easy. Camping again is restricted. They don't like you stealth camping, basically, is what they're trying to say. If you're bringing a vehicle in to the Shanties, you will have to pay $30 per vehicle. Now that's assuming you're not a thru hiker. So I'm just giving you that information. For thru hikers, it's not going to matter, really. Also, there's no real limit on time in the Shanties like there is in the Smokies. The Smokies, you get 8 days. You got to be out of there in 8 days, right? And so we did it in like 7, but we spent 2 days in Gatlinburg, so I mean, there is that. Anyways, now part of Shenandoah, they have an arrangement with the Pennsylvania Game Commission too, up near the border there. Anyways, yeah, there is that. So another one I'd like to mention, which I don't know if I would technically call it a permit. But there is something called the Green Mountain Club. The Green Mountain Club charges you to buy a card. You purchase a card from them, and then when you go to shelters, they have food. So you can get hot soup. You can get, what did I get there? I got hot soup. I got muffins, little cakes, brownies, and stuff. And each time you go to one of the shelters and you do that, they'll punch your card, and all around the edge of the card are each of the different shelters and places that you go through. This is also part of Franconia Ridge and the Whites. Like you'll be going through the Whites, you'll be seeing these shelters, and you'll be able to use your, we'll call it a pass. You buy it and you get discount. Oh, you get free soup, but you also get other free things. It's well worth the. It's well worth the $10. So we definitely did that. And that's not an official permit per se to be in an area. It just implies that at those shelters you can, provide that card and get some benefits out of it. Okay, and finally there is Baxter State Park. Baxter State Park, you have to go through, this has to be, I have to say this carefully because it's very specific what you do. When you come up on A-Ball Bridge, you're going to pass A-Ball Bridge, and you're going to, just at the entrance of Baxter Park, you're going to run into a person that's sitting there that works at the, we'll call it a kiosk. It's actually just a bulletin board, and he or she will be set up beside it, and you need to register there. They may or may not let you proceed. And the reason is they have limits on how many people they allow through. I forgot the exact number to go. The permit lasts for 7 days. The park quota is 3,150 hikers. That's all they're going to allow for through hiking to go up to Katahdin. So they, I'm assuming, coordinate with the Conservancy and find out how many tags the Conservancy's handed out. And I'm sure that they coordinate some way, because, if the ATC hands out 4,000, but Baxter's only going to allow 3,150, I'm sure there's some correlation there. I haven't checked it. But here's the other thing you have to do. After you go through the checkpoint, you're going to have an 8.5 mile hike, and it's going to take you to the, what's the name of that park? The Katahdin Stream Campground is what it's called. And in the campground, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to the ranger station. The ranger station is on the northeast side of the park. And you will go there, you will speak with them, and you will register. They will give you 2 cards. One I have, that's the picture, it's in the thumbnail. And another one's an orange one. Those you won't have to provide to anybody, unless a ranger asks you for them, I suppose. But what that'll do is that'll allow you to then, now at this point, after these 2 steps, then you're allowed to actually go and hike Mount Katahdin, or Mount Baxter. It's known by both names. You don't have to turn anything in afterwards either. You don't have to pay anything. You just basically have to register with the ranger, and they'll tell you whether or not you're okay to go. We registered, but we had to lay over for a day, and I'm really, really happy we did, because the weather was horrendous. It was such a big thunderstorm and everything, and if you've ever seen Katahdin, it's pretty tough on a good day. You have adverse conditions. It can be really tough. So we ended up staying at the Birches shelter. So there's a shelter there. And part of your registration is to register for the shelter. They limit the number of people that can stay at the shelter for free. So if you can get into the shelter for free, that's great. If not, though, you may have to pay to get either a tent pad, or they do rent out, what do they call those, yurts or something, where it's like a little closed in, it's an enclosure. And it allows you to stay there, and I'm not sure if it's heated. I didn't actually go in and look at the inside of them. I saw a bunch of them there, but I didn't see the inside of them. But do try to get into the Birches. The Birches is a nice shelter, very nice shelter. We stayed there, like I say, for one night. Then we went into Millinocket, for one night, and then we came back fresh in the morning. We came back at 4:30. That's the other thing you have to do if you leave there and you're coming back in through the gate. They open the gates at 4:30. If you do happen to want to zero in Millinocket or some town, when you come back in, just remember Baxter Park. The gates open at 4:30 in the morning, and they only allow to have so many vehicles in the park at any given time. So they monitor who's coming and going and how many vehicles are there. So if you're talking to a shuttle driver or whatever, it's really imperative that you get there early. We got there and we lined up literally like in between a half an hour and 45 minutes. Like I had a nap in the car while we were waiting for the gate to open up. And we were, I think, second or third in the line. We got in, we were lucky. And we got there early too. I mean, we thought 45 minutes, 30 minutes ahead of time was plenty of time, but it's not, as it turns out. So these are all things that you should consider when you're, traveling the AT. Permits definitely have to be adhered to. And it's not a permit, but it's something else I should mention. You should stop at Harper's Ferry and register with the ATC so that you can get recognition for your hike. Then when you register in Baxter Park, then they know you've completed it, you've summited it once you've come back out of the park. So you will get recognition from the Conservancy. You will get a nice little certificate that you can hang on your wall or keep for, keepsake. And it's something you want to keep for a lifetime. So anyway, I hope this information was useful. Like I said, this is part of a series, like once a week or so. I'm going to go over all the different aspects of preparing for the Appalachian Trail. I hope you find it helpful in preparing, because I know a lot of people are scared about what's ahead of them. There's some resources, but I mean, generally, it's nice to just pass the information along to future thru hikers. Anyway, let's go get it.